my wife says, "So how is it there?" And I said, "It's amazing. Like it's better than I thought it would be, ever would be. And if the USTA comes back and offers to triple my salary, we're not going back to Florida.
Yeah.
This community is phenomenal."
Welcome to Location Community, the podcast where real estate isn't just about finding the right house, it's about discovering the perfect place to call home. I'm Mike Rohr with Jeremy Daring of Doering&Co Real Estate in Elm Grove. On this show, we explore the dynamic relationship between where you live and how you live, diving into the importance of not just the location, but the community that comes with it. All right. Well, thank you for joining Location Community. I'm Mike Rohr.
I'm Jeremy Daring.
Yep. Thanks for joining us today, and coming back. We appreciate it. This might be, we're kind of discussing different options. This might be the last episode with this studio. We may kind of change it up and kind of go to a different scenery.
Yeah.
We complain about these chairs all the time. So, that's still to come. So you might kind of see a little bit of a different scenery, like as Jeremy said, next time. But thanks again for joining in today. If you haven't, please subscribe. We'd love to be able to share information as it comes available and share with your friends.
Yeah.
Right?
And anything that you guys would see important that's out there, anything that you guys know of that's coming up, we'd like to talk to more people about about the community and about the real estate industry. So please join us and let us know if you guys know of anybody that would like to be a guest.
Yeah, and questions, right? Things that maybe if we hear from a lot of you as far as different topics, things that are of interest, we can bring up those topics and have those discussions and guests, like Jeremy said, as well. So again, thanks for joining. I mean, I think today, we're going to kind of maybe expand our conversation from last time where just, things are changing in the market, right? Like what can be expected in the market. And a lot of that is impacted by like interest rates.
That's right.
Right. So interest rates were, like over 7 for quite a while. I think now there's a lot of talk and prediction with what the Fed's going to do, and kind of going down into like the mid to low 6s. So, what are your thoughts on that as far as what it's going to do to the to the market, to the real estate market?
Yeah, I think it's something. I believe it's what needs to get done is just a slow easing back into getting interest rates down a little bit more. 7% still not a horrible interest rate, right?
Not historically, no.
Not historically.
Right.
But you compile that with the inflation of food and cost of living and homeowners insurance and things like that. It
adds up.
It adds up.
Yeah.
I mean, it's high. But really, being in the industry and seeing what's happening in the payment shock that our clients are going through, right? 7.5%, 8% is really having people step back.
Yeah.
And not going as high on their price of homes that they're looking at buying, or there's quite a few people out there right now that have taken a pause in buying a property.
Yeah.
And for several factors, right? One is the house prices have gone up quite a bit. They don't want to compete with multiple offers. And then the cost of living.
Yeah.
Right. So
I mean, they're getting hit from a lot of different angles.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. So you've seen just a step back from a lot of buyers as far as just stepping their toe, so to speak, in the market and looking. You think that the lower interest rates will kind of bring some of those buyers back?
I do. I feel also in the market that we're in, the Wisconsin market, but I also know that nationwide inventory is starting to get better,
Yeah.
right? It's starting to become a little bit more normalized.
Yep.
And we're not quite there yet,
Yeah.
but it's definitely getting better where there is more inventory that's out there. And then if you have interest rates that come down a little bit more, I think more of those buyers will come back. But
Yeah.
being with the interest rate so high, being that we're in presidential election year,
A lot of
a
uncertainty.
lot of uncertainty. I feel like a lot of our buyers and people out there just taking a step back for a couple months.
Yeah.
And I know quite a few people have stepped out and then dipping back in.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see, what these next couple months look like for the fourth quarter,
Yeah.
2024.
Well, I've seen interest rates, I think prediction wise from, multiple sources. I know we talked about it. I think the average they're looking at 6.4%, by Q4 of
2024.
2024, and then continuing slowly decreasing to around 6% by the end of 2025.
Okay.
And that's significant, right? If you have a $400,000 house and you're looking at a interest rate of 7.5, you're looking at $2,800 ish,
Yeah.
right?
Without taxes,
Yep.
insurance.
Insurance is just principal and interest.
And if you don't put down 20%, then you have PMI insurance.
Yep.
Yeah.
100%. And 6.4%, that brings that house down to like $2,500 ish, about $300,
Okay.
difference.
$300.
Yep.
That's an improvement.
Correct. And even now going down to 6 by the end of next year, right? I think, then obviously that just affordability will hopefully increase.
Yeah. So then, total payment, if you're around 6% on a $400,000 house,
Yep.
property taxes, insurance, principal and interest, you're probably looking at what, $2,500?
Yeah. Right. And
And
that's lower than just principal and interest now what people have been paying over the last year, like,
Yeah.
over 7.
Right.
So, I think that can bring a lot of buyers and even sellers, right? Because there's probably a lot of sellers who just aren't selling because have such low interest rates and the prices have been going up. And so I think, that could increase the demand from both sides, not just from the buyers, but from the sellers, which will be important from a supply perspective. Right?
Yeah, I would agree.
Because then there's more houses on the market for sale, like the sellers are going to sell and then also, get back in the market. So hopefully that just improves that market balance that I think, we're all, kind of, looking for, as things kind of normalize.
Yeah, what is the current inventory right now nationwide?
I think it's around 4 months. And I think when you look at the different, from a market balance perspective, right? If it's under 5 months, it's a seller's market. 5 to 7 months is where you have like a balanced market, right? And if you go over 7, 8 months, then it's more like a buyer's market.
Right. And for years, the past 4 years, we've been sitting at a month to 2 month supply.
Correct.
Right?
So it's been a seller's market.
Yeah.
For sure. Right.
And that's, really, that's what I'm starting to see out there, Mike, is more inventory that's still sitting on the market. A lot of those homes are homes that need improvement, right? They have some non-functional floor plan, some disadvantages, I would call them, to those homes. And a lot of times those agents have overpriced those houses.
That's the number one mistake, whether it's us here talking and seeing what's happening here locally or even nationally. That's the number one mistake sellers make is they price their house too high.
Yeah.
And we've been seeing so many price reductions.
Yeah. A ton.
Right? That you didn't see, a year ago.
A year ago. No.
Because the inventory was so low, but now the inventory is starting to normalize and people are like, I'm not paying that.
Yeah. There's a lot of homes in between 500 and a little over $1 million right now. They're sitting on the market for months.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And we're seeing them.
Yeah.
We're seeing those homes.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep. And then even if you offer based on, comps and things like that, they're just kind of digging their heels in a little bit. Like they're still not, they're coming down slowly, but not coming down to where I think the house should be.
So you think interest rates will help that though for some of those homes? Like let's say interest rates do drop down to 6%.
Yeah.
Does that change the buyer's perspective in buying that house for a little bit more?
Well, I think then if more sellers are also get into the market, right, and we'll have to wait to see on that, but then your supply is not going to increase, right? So then if there's more houses, there's a little bit more competition, you have that market balance. So then hopefully prices will, there'd be more houses to compare. Like this house is selling for X.
Yeah.
I can't ask for what it was a year ago, right? And I hope that's where there's good conversations between the sellers and the agents
That's correct.
to make sure that it's appropriately priced.
Well, it's been said out there, and I think there's many perspectives, right? But some perspectives that I've heard is that buy now, which buying real estate, you have to be careful in what you do. You got to really break down how long you're going to be in the home for. Just a lot of different components, and that's why it's important to interview agents, as we always say.
Yes.
Just to really make sure that you're doing the right thing with the right people. But do you feel like the prices are going to go up more? Because I hear that the prices aren't going to go anywhere. If anything, they're only going to go up, especially when if interest rates drop.
Yeah.
That payment's going to drop, which will create more demand and people can afford more. And what you had said, there may be more inventory.
Yeah.
I have a different thought about it, but I'd like to hear your thought on that.
I think it's going to be very by geographic area. I think the Elm Brook area, I think will still be very competitive. I think you'll still get some, appreciation. And I think it would be, pretty close to, I think nationally or the various, there's like 10 organizations that predict appreciation of homes. And I think the average, what they say for 2025 is like 2.6%.
Okay.
Right. And I think historically we've always been right 2-3%. So I think that's, as we kind of even talked about a few minutes ago, balanced market, I think that's going to help normalize what appreciation is going to be. There's going to be some parts of Milwaukee nationally that might see a reduction.
Yeah.
Right. We
Outside communities.
Yep. We have, somebody that, that you've been working with that I've talked to you a few times as well. Like he's trying to sell a house in Austin.
Yeah.
Right. And Austin's a different market than Elm Brook. So back to your question, I think it's going to vary by area. But I would think that I think house prices were normalized, but you're still going to see some appreciation overall of what, 2.5%.
Yeah.
So is that?
No, that falls in line
Okay.
with what I'm
Okay.
thinking. I feel like depending on the community,
Yep.
right, and how well that community, is driven by schools, which
Yeah.
is kind of one of the number one
Yep.
indicators, and the community itself, right?
Yep.
And then the homes, right? If it's a home that is very much in line with a great floor plan, it's been taken care of.
Updated,
Those are
some
going to be at
updates,
high
things like that.
demand at
Yeah.
pretty much any market
Yeah.
for the most part.
Yeah.
And being that we're in Elm Brook, which is a little bit more of an area that has higher price tag,
Yeah.
medium price.
And demand, right? People
And demand.
Want,
Yeah,
because
people
of the
want to be
schools,
here.
the parks, and things like that.
Yep.
Yep.
I feel that we'll continue to. I don't think we're going to go up high in price. I mean, we've seen double digits in the last 3 years.
Yeah, that can't continue.
I feel like there will be a plateau, and there's going to be that where people actually are now starting to feel the inflation and the expense of things.
Yeah.
And then they're really, countering that with how important it is to buy this house and to spend $4,000, $5,000 a month.
Yeah.
So I feel like based on we're going to have more inventory, interest rates are going to come down. I think more people are going to be back into the market.
Yep.
I feel, and I'm already starting to see it, Mike. I'm already starting to see it in Heartland and other areas out there that homes that were bought 2-3 years ago, they're trying to sell it now, and they're down almost $50,000 to $100,000 than what they bought it for.
Yeah.
So, again, and these homes are, kind of funky floor plans, little dated, it's a 1990s home or even early 2000.
Yeah.
Roof hasn't been done, windows haven't been done, siding hasn't been done.
Yeah.
So you're all looking at 20 plus year and major components of a $900 or $1 million house, and they're still trying to ask 900 or $1 million.
Yeah.
So I think it's to what you had said. I believe it's location specific,
Yep.
but also house specific
Yeah.
to floor plan and major components that were actually done on that property
Yeah.
if they were done.
And that's why,
Right.
and you said it as well, that's why it's important to talk to multiple agents. People have different viewpoints, right? Other agents
Different
might
bandwidth.
not, correct. They might not agree with us. They might disagree, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But I think that's why it's important to have multiple conversations,
Right.
right? To interview multiple agents and come to podcasts like this, or just any way that you can educate yourself.
Right.
A knowledgeable consumer is a better
Prepared buyer. Right.
Right. And I think as well, there's maybe just 2 points here to kind of conclude. It's also good for the buyer as you get market normalization because, and I think we've seen it, like your thoughts on it, but a year, 2 years ago, there was no inspection. There was no contingencies. That's changing, right? There's more inspections now. There's, more negotiations, things like that go into it. So that's another component, right? When you go as a buyer or a seller, back into the market, to just know that that it's not as, I don't want to say as easy, but it was kind of easy. Like it was no contingencies. This is the offer. That's it. There wasn't a lot of negotiation.
No, pretty easy to be, an average agent.
Yeah.
And so to that, inspections, that is also going to have an impact on price.
100%.
Yeah. Think about it, right? So that house sells for a competitive market still. It's the right house, 5-10 offers.
Yep.
But most of them will still have an inspection. Most of the homes out there, from chimney to roof to attic insulation, there's 5 to 10 to $30,000-$40,000
You can have some big
components to
Yeah.
that home. And so,
that fix.
I mean, we've negotiated, many properties within tens of thousands of dollars on items that were substantial to the safety, to the health of that home,
Yep.
right? And so now with more of a balanced market, again, that's where I feel like, the house prices don't have a ton of room to go up continuously anymore,
Yeah.
right? They do have to stabilize. I think the interest rates will help with that stabilization to help offset getting people back into the market. But I strongly feel that, the prices of homes are just going to really stabilize.
Yeah. And that's, I think it's needed, right? You can't continue to have double digit growth, and it was, it was a perfect storm, so to speak, with, coming out of that pandemic and all that. And so we're getting back to normal.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing. And I think it's also just the last point I want to kind of bring up is, but things are different than when you go back to 2008. And I think there's some people saying like, there's going to be a crash or prices are going to start to go down. And I think it's important to just share, how the market is now compared to the market, looking back 2008, 9, 10, et cetera. So we talked about 4 months worth of inventory, right? And
Currently.
But it was like 10 and a half, 11 months, back in 2000, 8, 9, and 10.
Right.
You had,
I was at the forefront of that.
Yeah.
in Las Vegas.
right? I mean, houses sat forever. There was a lot of inventory.
Every other house was foreclosed on.
Yes.
Or short sale.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right. And foreclosures. I mean, I think now the foreclosures are going up a little bit. I mean,
Yeah,
we've seen
they
that.
are.
But just to keep that in perspective, I mean, I think it was like 4 or 5 times higher back in 2008, 9, and 10.
The number
in
of foreclosures.
Yes.
Right.
So we're still going up, but it's not nearly what that is. So I think it's just important for people tuning in and for everybody to know that things are normalizing, but they're normalizing. They're not going the other way where you're looking at, what we saw in, 2000, the late
Yeah.
2010s.
We have a stable base
Correct.
of where we're at
Yep.
economically, I think, in housing now.
And a lot of people have equity in their houses. I mean, there are some that don't maybe overpaid, like you said, Heartland,
correct,
things like that.
last
But there
couple
are a
years.
lot of people that have low interest rates and have a lot of equity. So
I
we're
think
not in
people that have bought, 3+ years ago
Yes.
have equity.
Yep.
I'm not sure if people that have bought in the last 3 years have
Yep.
equity
Yep.
or will have much equity.
Yeah.
That is another conversation that we would like to have
Yeah.
about what's that look like for people in the next 10, 20 years.
Yeah.
Are you going to have the equity to do major improvements that come up on your property?
Yep.
So like what we've had and like what our parents had and people like that, because a home was a shelter that, naturally increased in equity, that if you had an AC or a furnace that went out, and most people didn't have that cash, $5,000 to $10,000 laying around,
No.
they'd go to the bank and say, hey, I want to borrow some money from my, from the equity of my home, right? That was a major thing. I mean, we did that as a family. We didn't have any money.
Yeah.
And so if we needed to replace a roof, we went to the bank to go get a line of credit
Yep.
to replace the roof.
Yep.
I'm questionable if that's going to be, if that's going to be available in the next 5 years, depending on how much money that person put down when they bought the house.
Yep.
I think refinancing and with the rates coming down,
That will help.
that will help
Yeah.
because that'll help offset that payment. Maybe people will add additional principal to paying down the loan,
Yep.
which will help, help build their equity that
Yeah.
way.
Yeah. So, no, great conversation.
Yeah.
I mean, and everybody tuning in, please let us know your thoughts as well. And like I said, subscribe and, give your feedback. We want to hear it. I think, we may have, like I said, a different scenery next time, but now, as I think we've mentioned over and over, right, that the best part of, the podcast, the episodes are the people, the guests that we bring on, right? It's location, community, and it's the community portion, right? So today we have a fantastic guest, somebody that we both know, Timon Corwin from Western Racket Club, which we're both members of, and we may not look like tennis players, but yeah, we do play a little tennis. A little pickleball. But with that, we're going to bring on Timon. So Timon, come on in and look forward to having a conversation.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Thanks, JD. Great to be here.
Awesome.
Love talking about Elm Grove.
Right?
Yeah, it's a great place.
Yeah. So can't thank you enough for coming on one of the first podcasts. We appreciate it. And I guess let's just maybe start a little bit about yourself and how you came to Elm Grove.
Yeah, glad to. So, as you said, Mike, I work at Western Racket Club. I'm the general manager. Been in that role for about 13 years. I'm in my 15th year at the club and started as the tennis director. I was actually working for the USTA down in Florida from 2007 to 2010. And one of my good friends who's also an Elm Grove resident, Tim Klein, they were doing a search at Western Racket Club for a new tennis director. And I put my name in the hat and went from kind of being a little fish in a big pond working at the USTA to coming to Wisconsin and Elm Grove in particular, working at Western Racket Club. I started as the tennis director and then graduated to the general manager in 2012.
Okay.
4 kids, all of whom have grown up here. When we moved, our 2 oldest were in high school, so they started at Brookfield East. We had a daughter at Pilgrim, and we had a son who was in 4K at St. Mary's, and later went to Tonawanda. So we hit all the Elmbrook school
Yeah.
levels education wise, and just an exceptional experience for us. I was in Elm Grove for about 4 weeks, maybe 6 weeks, I guess. Looking back in May of 2010, my family, they were still down in Florida finishing up school. And my wife says, "So how is it there?" And I said, "It's amazing. Like, it's better than I thought it would be, ever would be. And if the USTA comes back and offers to triple my salary, we're not going back to Florida. This community is phenomenal."
And
Fast forward,
is she from here?
she's from Milwaukee.
Okay.
Her sister lives in Elm Grove,
Okay.
and her my sister-in-law and brother-in-law are Elm Grove residents. That was part of the attraction too,
Yeah.
to come back and be close to family.
And you were too, right? You
Yeah, yeah. I went to high school. I went to Pilgrim, then Brookfield Central.
okay?
So when I accepted the job and came here a little bit earlier, back in 2010, there was really only one community that for me was on the table. And my wife, Rachel, is not from the Elmbrook area. She was from Milwaukee. And so I think maybe the net would have been a little wider for her, maybe to Menominee Falls, Sussex, Tosa, Greenfield, New Berlin, Waukesha. I think I've always liked living close to where I work, and that there was really no issue for Rachel either, because her sister lived in Elm Grove. And I think when we came to visit in March of 2010, we saw some places that were really attractive and found the community super welcoming. Mm-hmm. So my family arrives on a Sunday in June. They're done with school from Florida. The moving van arrives.
Yep.
And the first day I bring the family to the club, our kids had grown up playing tennis and were probably a nice addition to Western Racket Club from a level standpoint. Kind of all ships rise as the competition improves. And after that first day, we go home, we're unpacking boxes, and this Mini Cooper pulls up in our driveway, and 4 guys get out of the car and grab my 2 oldest sons and said, "Hey, we're going over to Central and you're coming with us and playing ultimate Frisbee." And we lived in Florida for 3 years, and nothing like that had ever happened before. So it was like
That's fantastic.
kind of a magical moment for us, and really was a sign of good things to come for our family, and just an indication that Elmbrook and Elm Grove in particular was a welcoming, friendly, unpretentious type of community that was a good fit for us.
That had to be just, I mean, the impact that had to have on your kids, right?
Well, 2 high school boys heading off to a strange high school,
Yeah.
like that's not an easy transition. But yeah, I look back on those memories, and that was having the club. I know we'll talk a little bit about Western Racket Club in particular, but
Yep.
having the club as a central, kind of a home away from home for our kids when they arrived in the community, where they had they were somebody, like, oh, these guys are pretty good.
Yeah.
Who doesn't want a couple of really good tennis players at the club to hit with? And it just gave them a little bit of self-confidence and self-esteem being in a new community. And then when they headed off to East in the fall, they had kind of this built-in friend group, and they think of themselves from Elm Grove, not from Florida or Michigan, where we lived before Florida.
Yep.
They're Wisconsinites. They think of Elm Grove as home, and that's kind of cool.
No, that's awesome. That's a great story. I mean, to your point, you're 3 years in Florida, and it doesn't happen in your first day, right?
Yeah.
Or one of the first days.
It was Monday. They arrived that weekend, and then after the first day in the high school group that morning, in the afternoon, after, and then that was just neat. And I still know those 4 kids who stopped by that afternoon, and I think they're all from Elm Grove, but a couple of them I think went to
Yeah.
Marquette. One went to Brookfield Central, and just that's one of the interesting facets of Western Racket Club to a certain extent. It's surrounded 360 by neighborhood, and a lot of the families may choose to send their children to parochial schools, whether it's BA, Brookfield Academy, or Marquette High, or Divine Savior, Catholic Memorial. The lion's share of our members' kids go through the public school system, but it's somewhat of a melting pot of different communities and different philosophies on education. And that the nice thing is you meet children from different schools, and so there's somewhat of a camp environment. Like you're there for the summer, and like your friends might be your school friends, but then you meet kids from other schools, and you're just Western Racket Club kids. And so it, to a certain extent, I think that is also with the adults too. Like, oh yeah, we send our kids to BA. Oh, our kids are at, Pilgrim. Yeah, let's play some tennis and go to the pool.
Yeah.
And
Right?
it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So, Western Racket Club, the community for Western, like I said earlier, I think of Elm Grove as an unpretentious community. It's like you look at a Norman Rockwell painting and you think, like when you're in the village or you're walking down Club Drive to Western Racket Club, you think of Norman Rockwell. It's just kind of this frozen in time community that values friendship and fun and just it's a safe environment. I mean, we're 15 minutes from downtown. I mean, it's amazing. You can go to a Brewer game and be there in 15 minutes, or a Bucks game, or the museum, or the War Memorial Center, or Summerfest. And yet you feel somewhat removed from Milwaukee, which is kind of nice too. There's a quietness to the village.
There's like no thorough street with it, right? It's that 4 square miles or whatever it is of.
Yeah. You better watch your speed.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's what you want to hear.
No, but that's the truth. Whether one here or not, that's the truth, right?
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
Now, so obviously you touched on what the community means, right? There's a lot of people from, whether it be, doesn't matter where the kids go to school, whatever, that they come in, and that kind of what makes, I think, right, Western Racket Club is kind of what you're getting to.
Yeah. And Elmbrook as a whole, really
for sure.
serves a lot of diverse cultures and people and different religions, and it's nice to have that together and have our kids exposed to all that stuff.
Yeah, for sure. But now, like when you think of Western Racket, maybe share a little bit about what Western Racket, the impact that it has on the community.
Well, JD just kind of finished his last comment about like there is a diversity in the community, and I think that the club provides that opportunity for people from diverse backgrounds or diverse beliefs to just feel welcome. And it's a non-judgmental environment. We have some modern families, so to speak, at the club, and we have Asian American, African American. I mean, I would say the bulk of our membership is white Anglo-Saxon, but from different backgrounds and different professions. I think one of the things that when I think of Western and the community are just the opportunity to network too and be there for each other. Whether it's, I've got a bum knee, I can think of 2 or 3 orthopedic surgeons. They're on my speed dial, or insurance, or an attorney, or real estate. And it's just and no one is using the club necessarily to like advertise, or it's all friendship driven and community driven.
For sure.
And I think we had talked about this in the weeks leading up to this podcast about just the way that the club provides some life lessons for the kids, definitely in the programming that they take on to whether it's elementary school, middle school, high school, on to college. Certainly, our tennis, we're very well known for our tennis coaching, and there's kids from outside the Elm Brook area that travel and their families join the club so their kids can be exposed to the coaching and be around other really good players and help develop their game and help develop people skills as well.
Yeah.
And so I was just thinking about the last 14 years of being at Western. We've had 7 Division I state high school singles champs in boys tennis. So that's half of the years that someone has won the boys high school tournament. That player's come through Western Racket Club.
That's incredible.
But it's also a combination of good coaching, but also the kind of people that the club attracts and
sets precedents.
Yeah, and it's hardworking people. It's community-minded people. We're by and large a family club. We're a family casual club. We like to have fun. We work hard. And it's a place to just unwind and kind of be a happy place for members. You know, everyone's working hard in their professions. Some days are better than others. And then you get to come to this beautiful place that is situated. I think the club's the second largest taxpayer in Elm Grove. So it's a pretty big spot.
Yeah.
And it's just gorgeous. It's green space. It's this gorgeous outdoor pool. It's 14 outdoor courts. It's a renovated dining and bar area that provides just, you can kind of feel the stress leave when you walk in the building. And it's intended to be a place for people to have fun and where kids can grow up. And I mean, this kind of happens by accident, but it's somewhat generational in that the young kids that we see in the nursery, 10 years later, they're now babysitters for the families who are having young kids.
Yeah.
And it just...
You've seen that now being there for 14 years.
Yeah.
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 So you're now starting to see that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. A couple times, like some of the 7-year-old, so now some of the kids we taught who were in high school when I first came are joining with young kids. And so they're coming back. They're in their early 30s. They were 18, 17 when I started.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a great place to come back to as well. Like you think, oh my gosh. And I'll just talk a little bit about my oldest. So he's a doctor going through residency in Houston, and his dream, he's getting married next October. He's marrying someone from Wisconsin, which is nice because maybe they'll end up back here. His dream is to raise a family and be in Elm Grove and join Western
And
Racket
there's
Club.
so many families like that.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I've met so many where they grew up here or whatever, and they come back.
Yeah.
They buy their parents' house or whatever the case is.
Yeah.
Well, that's truly the emphasis of what this podcast is about, right? It's the community.
Yeah.
And the pillars that the community has and the strength that it has to build relationships and families and create a safe environment. And it brings people back, brings generations and generations of people back.
Yeah. It goes to the story you said,
right?
Your people came, 4 kids came up and said, hey, let's go. I mean, there's a lot of places that doesn't happen.
Right now.
And it all, it's places like, Western Racket that are part of what makes Elm Grove.
I think so. I mean, but there also is a lot of people at Western that don't live in Elm Grove.
Yes.
Right? And that's the other, you had mentioned that from Tosa, Brookfield. Do we have people from Menominee Falls? Probably.
We do. Yeah. It's in the private club space, you can pretty much put a 6-mile radius around your club, whether it's Westmore, Blue Mound, Western Racket Club, North Hills out in Menominee Falls, wherever it is. 80% of your membership is going to come from a 6-mile radius. And that's true to form for us. So we have many families from Tosa. We have some from the Falls. We have some from Sussex, some from Pewaukee. Once you get beyond Pewaukee and New Berlin, then maybe there's just a couple outliers from maybe Oconomowoc or Heartland. But it's very much an Elm Grove and Brookfield and kind of Wauwatosa community.
And is there another club that has an indoor facility in southeastern Wisconsin?
Western has a niche for sure that we have. We're a country club without a golf course.
Yep.
In Elm Grove, there's just no land for a golf course really. So when the founders saw this plot of land and put this beautiful club in, they went to the village and said, "Hey, we want 4 indoor courts," and the village said, "You can do it, but you got to sink it down 16 feet so that the neighbors that aren't looking at this big structure, 365 days a year. In the winter, more so, but in the summer when it's green, you don't really see it. And now the members or the neighbors really can't see it because it's 15 feet above ground instead of 30.
Right.
Yeah.
There are other clubs that have indoor courts, but not the outdoor experience that we have. And for a club to have 14 outdoor courts and 4 indoor courts, we're the only club.
Yeah.
Then we're the only game in town for that.
Yeah.
And we one thing I haven't touched on is just the social events too that create that community and those memories.
Yeah.
Just last Saturday we had this pool event. We have it each summer. It's called Cool by the Pool, where it's just family time. You bring your family to the pool. We have a slip and slide. We have live music. There's a grill by the snack shop, face painting, splash dive contest. We try to put events for the members on the calendar once a month, twice a month, whether it's family, whether it's adult focused, whether it's just kids focused. To just bring the membership together for fun events like that.
Just give them one extra reason, one additional reason to come to the club and
right. Not everybody's a tennis player or a pickleball player or paddle player or wants to go to the pool or go to the fitness center.
Yep.
A lot of amenities that we have at Western, and for some of those amenities are more important than others.
Yeah.
But everybody likes to eat, everybody likes to drink, and everybody likes music for the most part.
Right, yeah.
And when you put food, drink, and music together,
you're gonna get a crowd.
You have good times.
And and there's different memberships at Western as well, right? I mean, it's like you were just saying, like some people don't play tennis, right? But there's this social, there's other memberships as well.
There's really a membership for anybody, whether it's you just want to stay in shape and use the fitness center and dine. The dining room's for everybody. It's that everybody's part of that space and everybody's part of the fitness center. So whatever membership you have, those are the two kind of anchors. Tennis kind of is the umbrella membership. So if you're playing tennis, you can do anything.
Yeah.
If you're not a tennis player, there's a lower level membership where pretty much everybody wants the pool too.
Yeah.
You guys have adopted pickleball courts, right?
Yeah.
And then what's the other game that's played in the wintertime?
Paddle
tennis. There's a few clubs in the Milwaukee area. It's a growing sport. Nothing compared to pickleball. Pickleball is the fastest growing racket sport in the world. Definitely in the United States, but it's growing globally. It's easy and it's fun. It's an easy learning curve. That's what I mean. Like to go from first starting playing pickleball to being a pretty proficient player, if you're a decent athlete, might take 2 months. Whereas for tennis, it could take longer, a year or two.
And I think from a social aspect, that's so important because now, I mean, playing tennis, I can't play with some tennis players, but I can be on the pickleball court.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And play with them, right? So from a social aspect, it brings more people together.
Yeah, it's really fun and it's growing.
Is there coaching for kids too now at the club?
There is. There hasn't been. I mean, we haven't really targeted the kids for pickleball.
Okay.
But it's coming. It's coming. A couple of our tennis pros are also certified to teach pickleball. It's, for the most part, the kids are just going up there and playing on their own.
Yeah.
Okay.
You don't really need a lot of like once you know how to score, you just play.
And the
You
kids
just
But as,
play.
but as you said, though, I mean, this
There's
is
some
becoming
nuances. Yeah, there's
a
nuances.
global sport,
Yeah.
and there's professionals, right?
Oh yeah.
Making
And I've seen
a
kids
chunk of
on,
money.
I've seen younger kids on TV competing at a high level, like
Yeah.
as well.
It's we're in a safe space right now,
Yeah.
but it's coming. We'll have some. They'll definitely be in the next 3 to 5 years where, depending on where tennis goes. I mean, at Western, you'd never know that tennis was kind of static because we have 300 juniors in our tennis program this summer. 300 junior kids in the pro. 300 different junior kids. That's crazy. Last summer it was actually a little bit more. When I first got here, we were in like the 180s. So I think we've turned over the membership over the last 10, 15 years. Younger families have joined, and it's just kind of the nature of how that happens.
I mean, you come to the club during the week at 7, 8 a.m. I mean, there's lots of activity going on.
Yeah. It's exciting to see. And we actually use the pickleball courts for our tennis program. So we converted little mini tennis courts into pickleball courts because we can use pickleball courts for little kids tennis, but we can't use little tennis courts for pickleball. The dimensions are off by a couple feet, which was kind of stupid of the USTA 15 years ago when they put these 36-foot courts into the mainstream. They should have just taken the pickleball courts and said, okay, pickleball courts are going to be for our 3, 4, and 5-year-old beginning tennis players.
Yep.
Then there would be no issues. But anyway, that was a missed opportunity.
Yeah. Figure it out,
But
though.
the pickleball is growing, and we'll be getting out. We are out in front of it. We have permanent pickleball courts at the club. We have some lines for indoor pickleball. And each indoor season, we're seeing more and more of the tennis courts being utilized by 8 people instead of 4. So doubles on tennis is 4 people using a space. You can get 8 people playing. That's 8 people having fun, 8 people coming up to the bar afterwards, enjoying a beer before they head home. And it's just, that's what we want. We're not,
The snowballs and other things.
we're not like, oh, it has to be tennis. The name of the club is Western Racket Club. That's why I would say in the next 5 years, I'd be surprised if we don't add a 4th racket sport called padel. It's growing gangbusters in Europe and South America, in Florida, in Southern California. I've got plans already. The board's seen them. We've got some other CapEx projects that are more important right now, but we're a racket club. We want to make sure that we have opportunities for our members and for the non-members who think, oh, they've added padel. I've always wanted to play padel. Let's join the club. So
awesome. I think, just if you could maybe just expand a little bit on just the programs in general. I mean, I know you have swim, you have dive, you have, kids tennis. From what ages do they start?
Well, I'll start with tennis. So the entry age is 3.5 typically, right before a child's heading into 4K, which will be their first experience for actually receiving instruction other from what they've had in daycare or at home.
Yep.
So pedagogically, that's kind of the right age where the attention span. Those are half-hour classes. That's appropriate for that age, and it's more neuromuscular development and coordination development and being able to follow instruction and be in a space without mom or dad or grandma or grandpa there.
Yeah.
And just being around other kids and learning spatial. A lot of young kids are like, right next to each other all the time, whether it's on a soccer field or a tennis court or a basketball court. So
We've
learning
all experienced that.
spatial relations and hand-eye coordination. And then we have from 3 all the way up, we have members in their 80s playing tennis. So really, there's a space and an ability for any demographic at the club on the tennis court. I would say pickleball. JD mentioned pickleball. We've got 60, 70 members who are really eager to play, and that's only going to grow.
Yeah.
And then in introducing that more programmatically into the junior space is coming down the pike as well. Our summer aquatics program is amazing. Whether it's swim, dive, synchronized swimming, primarily for young girls, that is synchronized swimming. We've had some guys do it in the past, but typically it's 99% women or young girls. And that the structured program in aquatics at Western Racket Club is very developmental. If you're a phenomenal swimmer, you're going to go swim at Elm Brook or Brown Deer or wherever. And the same with dive. You're learning how to move your body in space, and great for character development and
just confidence
and
to do some of those things that I want to try off a diamond board.
Yeah, and then and the swim team.
Yeah.
We've got a nice size group of kids involved with those programs. We have I wouldn't call it state-of-the-art fitness center, but it's really nice for a racket club to have a high-quality fitness center. It's got everything you'd want for a club, whether cardio, strength equipment, a dance studio for yoga and stretching and that kind of thing, Smith machine, some free weights, kettlebells, and it's really a nice space. It's really not a place to see and be seen. It's not like you're going to Lifetime and there's going to be 150 people there working out. I'm sure Lifetime's beautiful. And it's nice to have a Lifetime in Brookfield. Don't get me wrong. It's awesome. Or some of the elite clubs as well, like the one on Burleigh. But we're more of a private club, and it's just nice to have a fitness space that has all the equipment and room that we do.
Yeah.
You don't see that at a golf club or a country club, so to speak. It's very rare to have kind of a dedicated fitness space with nice equipment. And we have a massage therapist who's she's there 5-6 days a week. She's got a really consistent clientele with the membership. So it's kind of that spa feel.
Yeah.
Like if you're, hey, I kind of might have tweaked my back or something, or you just want to treat yourself to massage, there's nothing better. And she's phenomenal.
And she's been there a long time, hasn't she?
Yeah. Yeah, Julie Morrow, she's well known in the community. And she's terrific.
That's awesome.
We have a nursery. In the first year of membership, families with young kids get free daycare up to 90 minutes a pop if mom and dad want to work out, or even just go upstairs for a bite to eat.
Or social event.
So we really, it's hard to be all things to everybody, but I think we've found our niche. And, the key is just to provide a great experience for the members.
Yeah.
And provide great, education in the pool, on the courts, and help families, have a love for a lifetime sport like tennis or pickleball or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, I think it's, first of all, thank you so much for coming on. And it's, everything you talked about, it really goes back to what Elm Grove, Brookfield, Elm Brook is all about, right? It's just about, being active, friendships, relationships, having fun, being there for each other, networking, whatever it is. I think, the people that are, friendships, it's a gem within the community as far as the friendships from the standpoint that I think, Western Racket has. But then that goes out to the community, right? Yeah. So it's definitely a give and take. And I think it's a great example of talking about this podcast with, location, community. That's that's the exclamation mark really of why people want to live someplace. And Western Rec is definitely part of that.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's in closing, like it's a Western Rec Club is a member-owned club.
yep.
And so the members are basically my boss. And I would say many of the members have become my closest friends. So I better keep doing a good job
Yeah.
because I'll have a friend, saying you're out.
Yeah.
But that's a unique model in a way. And it's our job to shepherd and protect that culture and
Yeah.
nurture it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know anything about Western moving to Elm Grove, and I don't think a lot of people do. But once you go there and experience the environment that that is given, right? And it's a blessing to be a member there and to participate in the events and the people. Everyone's very kind there, very, very safe environment for our kids.
Yeah.
It's really now knowing that I live there, I'm a member there, and then hopefully, like you had said, my kids will have those memories for years and years to come, and that they'll come back, visit visit us, maybe someday have kids, and then come back because of that.
Yeah.
It's just it's a great pillar for Elmbrook, Tosa, that surrounding community for people to be
Yep.
members of.
For sure.
Yeah.
So Timon, thank you for coming on today.
My pleasure.
And thank you for everybody who tuned in to to this episode, and hope to you tune in on the next one. So have a great night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Location Community. I hope today's episode gave you a deeper understanding on how the right community can enhance your living experience and enrich your life. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe, leave us a message, and share it with your friends or anybody looking to make the most informed decision about where to live. And remember, it's not just about the house you buy, it's about the community you're joining. Until next time, I'm Jeremy Daring and Mike Rohr, reminding you that the best investment you can make is in a place where you feel connected, supported, and inspired. See you on the next episode.